So you know you need to do more podcast SEO. You know that search engine optimization is vital to generating more traffic and indeed more fans. But as you've begun to dig into SEO, you have been faced with so many pieces of jargon. You've been told about acronyms and you've been taught about bits of information that you never heard of. And one of the biggest things that you've probably heard of is metadata. But what the heck is metadata and why does it matter to your podcast? Let's dig into that. Metadata, simply put, is data about data. That's why the word meta is in there. It's information about information. The way that this works is that we need to categorize information, okay? So if you think about your podcast episode, that is indeed information. It's information around content. You're delivering content and you write information about that. You write your show title, your episode title, you write your show notes, you write your clickable timestamps if you're using Captivate, you mark whether it's explicit or not, you give it a show number, an episode number, you tell your show what categories to go into. That's all information about your episode and about your show. And metadata is information about that information. And when it comes to search engine optimization, metadata is very important because if you think about the content that you have in your episode, that's the stuff that you want Google to show to people, okay? And Google will, of course, look at your content. It will decide how to categorize that content, and it will essentially say, we think this content answers your question. Based on the thing you typed into Google, we think that this content will serve your purpose, all right? And that is what Google tries to do. It tries to serve relevance. Metadata gives Google a better chance of understanding what that information is. It makes it easy for Google to understand what that content is about. In particular, what it does, it makes sure that Google knows how and when to surface that information. So when someone searches for a specific keyword, how does Google know what the heck to do with your content? Should you be number one in the rankings? Number two, should you even be there in the rankings for this search term? Metadata is a vital component of that. I'm going to use the illustration basically of two things that you will already know, but maybe you don't know. Maybe you've never seen them and really looked at them, but I guarantee you will be familiar with them. I'm going to give you two core pieces of metadata that I guarantee you have seen. That is something that we call the meta title and the meta description. If you use your podcast host as Captivate, if Captivate is your podcast host, what you'll see is that every time you publish an episode, you've got an SEO section at the bottom of the episode. And inside there, you've got two pieces of information. You've got the title and the description. And you might be thinking, well, what's the difference between my episode title and my show notes? Surely that's my title and my description. Maybe, maybe not, okay? Your title of your episode is what will be displayed in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and so on in your show notes. The meta title and the meta description are the things that will appear in Google. And we've all seen this, all right? If you search for the Podcast Accelerator podcast right now in Google, you'll see that my website comes up. And there's a blue title, which is the thing that you click on. That is the meta title. That's what I have told Google that the title of that content is. And then the meta description, which is different to your show notes, that is the bit underneath it. That is that little bit of grey text underneath that describes that search result to you. And what we're talking about with metadata is the fact that we can manipulate what we see there. What users and potential listeners will see in the search results is up to us. And what we have to do, we're going to talk about this in the next piece of content, is make sure that our key phrases and our content keywords are relevantly included in the title and the description so that when people search for them, our content gets surfaced and the title makes it very clear and the description makes it very clear that that result is not only the right result for that person searching, but that they should click on it to get the right content. And that is what metadata is. Now, there's so much other metadata, but the things that I want you to be concerned about as a podcaster right now is understanding two core things. In search engine optimization terms, metadata is just information about your content, information about your information, meta data. Data about data. The two pieces of metadata that you're probably most familiar with that you will see every day without realizing are the title, the meta title of any given web page or any piece of content, which you can control from your Captivate podcasting dashboard. And of course, the description, the meta description, the SEO description, the grey description that appears underneath a search result to make sure that the user sees that that's the right thing for them. There are two things that you can manipulate inside your Captivate hosting portal if you're hosting your podcast with Captivate. If you're not, please check with your podcast host. And if you need a better experience with your host, please do check out Captivate, all right? SEO is not that difficult as a starter. It's an expert level thing when you get deep into it, but you can have big results very early by understanding the basics. And now you understand metadata.